going to hit, oh, there we are now live. Great, and we are recording. So we have people starting to come in. Everybody who's just joining us, we're going to give it a couple of minutes and then we'll get started in just a moment once we make sure everybody's in here. All right, we'll get started in just a moment. We'll give people a chance to log off of work and log into this.
Yeah.
Moment.
And feel free to use the Q&A option at the bottom of the presentation if you have questions as we go along. We'll be answering it.
Yeah,
we'll
and also
at the end too.
chat.
Yeah, the chat too, if you want to chat. Lots of features on here.
And chat and people in. All right, we'll give it just another moment. I'm sure people will be coming in for the first few minutes. We'll give them just a minute. And then we'll get started. All right, do you want to? Well, thanks for everybody for joining us. We appreciate you coming to, this is the first virtual block party. In this very cool project that Long Beach Water and California Native Plant Society have been working on. We were originally going to have in-person block parties where we did a lot of planting together. Due to COVID and the state of the world, we're not supposed to be around other people at the moment and sharing tools in those ways. So we wanted to make sure we could all still connect and, you know, find a way to really talk about some of the fun parts of doing this and learn together. So do you want to get started, Maya?
Oh, yeah. Let's, do you and James and Larissa want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, definitely. So welcome everyone. My name is James Morgutia, and I'm the primary administrator of water conservation here at the Long Beach Water Department. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us tonight. We're very excited to finally launch our online landscaping series that is in partnership with the California Native Plant Society. Just a quick shout out to them. They've done a really excellent job in helping us deliver a new and unique program to all of you. And so this, as mentioned, this is our first public workshop. And so I'd like to take a short opportunity to introduce you to our team that we have here. We have Larissa Lohman, who is one of our water conservation assistants and primary leads on this Parkway program. We also have Kaylee Levitt and Tina Fan, who are also water conservation assistants that will be providing support in the near future. So thank you very much.
And I'm Anne Marie Benz. I'm the Horticulture Outreach Manager for California Native Plant Society. I originated from down in Southern California, though, up in the San Bernardino Mountains, a small town called Valley of Enchantment, and know Long Beach fairly well.
And my name is Maya Argamon, and I am the Horticulture Outreach Coordinator, and I come from San Francisco and Marin and Northern California. I'm in Santa Cruz right now, but love Long Beach and love the area, and hopefully I'll be able to make it down there once COVID isn't as present. Great, so here at the California Native Plant Society, our mission is dedicated to conservation of native plants in their natural habitats, as well as in the built environments. And we really believe that we can truly change the world with our gardens, and it really means restoring nature one garden at a time.
And so just jumping in real quick before we get into sort of the nitty gritty of this presentation, I just wanted to give you all sort of some background information for about the Long Beach Water Department. So here at the Long Beach Water Department, we provide water and sewer services to about 500,000 people in a 50 square mile service area. And that service area encompasses most of the city of Long Beach. Quick fun fact to visualize the magnitude of our infrastructure. If you were to lay out all of our existing pipeline from end to end, it would stretch 1,600 miles, which is approximately the distance from Long Beach here, Southern California, all the way to Houston, Texas. So it's a ton of infrastructure that our our team is responsible for. And so we're very supportive and of water conservation here. And we're fortunate to have a board of water commissioners and management team that is also very supportive of those endeavors. And so, all that support has really made us a regional leader in water conservation and innovation, henceforth this program. And just a quick thank you to everyone who is taking place in this virtual webinar tonight. An extra kudos, you make our jobs easier here. So next slide, please. So the Long Beach Parkway Program, after a couple of years at the drawing board, we were finally able to launch our Parkway program early last year, just before COVID, unfortunately. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the term Parkway, it's the grass median area that is between the sidewalk and curbside that's found in many Long Beach neighborhoods. By city code, parkways are technically city property, but they are to be maintained by the adjacent property owner. And the voucher system in itself, the Parkway program is a voucher-based system offering pre-designed kits of California native plants, mulch, and pavers to our customers at no cost for these materials. And so within this program, we feel like we've come a really long ways in simplifying the turf replacement process, cutting out some of the headaches of coming up with a design and a plant list, as well as sourcing plants and materials for your project. And so the way the voucher system works is they're redeemable at 2 local nurseries and 1 local landscape supply store. And I'll kind of get into a little bit more about how you select your voucher and when that becomes available to you. So next slide, please. So program eligibility. To be eligible for the Parkway program, the project area must contain living grass turf at the time of the design approval. In instances where, say, you have grass or you had grass and you've let the grass die, or you've removed the grass because you wanted to do some type of landscaping project, but you weren't sure, and you later on heard about this awesome program that we have, will still allow you to participate should you have existing photos of the project area showing that it has some living grass. We can also do some things on Google Maps to see a historical view and be able to qualify you that way as well. And while we do offer multiple turf replacement incentives, unfortunately, customers cannot combine the Parkway program voucher with any other incentives that we offer, such as our Lawn to Garden program, if you've heard about that, for the same project area. If you do, or if you have participated in Lawn to Garden in the past, but you did not convert your Parkway area, you are allowed to do so. Or vice versa, if you have done your Parkway and you thought it was great and now you want to take on a bigger, better project, you are still eligible to participate in our Lawn to Garden program if you feel you're ready to do so. So next slide, please. And so if you're interested in participating in the Parkway program, the first step would be to apply online on our website. Our website is lbwater.org/parkway. And once we have your application, we can work towards verifying your eligibility and placing a reservation for you in our system. And so once you apply, you'll receive a conditional approval and some instructions for turf removal. Once you get all that done, it'll be that time for you to select your plant palette. We have 5 plant palettes that you can choose from. And so once we verify turf removal and you've selected your palette, it's usually about a 1 week's time that will notify that your plants are ready for pickup from one of our local nursery partners. And then we'll do the work for you to coordinate a delivery for mulch and stepping stones for your project. And then once you have all that, the last step is really just to put it all together. So you go ahead and you do the installation. You can do it yourself. You can have someone do it for you if you're open to hiring someone. But throughout that process, I feel like we've simplified it to the point where, the do-it-yourself weekend warrior can really take advantage of it. And we have a bunch of great resources and videos to help you along the way. And so, yeah, that's a brief overview of the Parkway program for those who are joining us that may be on the fence or haven't applied just yet. Yeah, but with that, I'll turn it back over to CNPS to jump into, great tips for those of you who are maybe working on establishing your parkways. So thank you.
Thanks so much, James, for going over the overview of the program and what the water department does. So for this episode, we're going to go over tips for success with your parkway and how to establish it, and just basic advice for long-term sustainability of your parkway garden.
All right, and we're going to real quick go ahead and launch a poll.
Oh,
And
right.
I'm going to go ahead
Thanks
and
for reminding me.
do that and launch it. It
Okay,
should be
great.
up, and just kind of gauging interest in, what is the main goal for you if you participated or if you're interested in participating. So we'll give that just a moment. And there are a lot of different reasons for doing it, and none of them are the wrong reason. The right reason is whichever one works for you.
Yeah. This is fun to watch it go. And all these photos in the slideshow are plants from these Parkway planting kits with different birds and pollinators attracted to them. So it's a kind of a fun feature.
We're going to give the poll just another second here and then close it down. All right. I'll go ahead and end the polling and share the results really quick. It looks like our lead by just a little bit is attract birds and wildlife. So you're really going to enjoy these pictures then.
Yeah.
They are all plants that are available through this Parkway program.
So this is coyote bush flowering in this picture. Okie dokes. Okay, so why plant natives? So I guess we kind of went over that with the poll, but native plants support local pollinators and wildlife. A lot of different birds and insects and other pollinators have co-evolved with native plants, and they need them to survive for habitat, food, sources of nectar, an array of reasons. And another reason to plant natives is for water conservation. Once native plants are established, they really require much less water than non-native alternatives. And of course, less maintenance as well. And last but not least, natives also reduce runoff and pollution. They don't really require herbicides and pesticides and as much maintenance as other plants. I mean, there's no plant that's truly maintenance free, but natives come really close to it.
And one of the things you're going to need to do, since James was talking about, removing the turf piece and showing that you either have turf or had it most recently, is you'll want to start by removing your turf. And this can be one of the more challenging aspects of doing it. There are a lot of different ways to consider. We're against the herbicide version where you spray it dead, in that what you're also spraying dead then is often the soil, and it so makes it a lot harder for something else to grow and for you to have a successful garden out front at that point. And also all of the other pieces along with herbicides, if you have pets, children, neighbors, yourself, that you don't necessarily want it in. You can rototill it in, like literally go and grind it in. Grass is a plant, it will be okay to do that with. You can physically remove it in that you can, cut it out and take it out. It's challenging work. It is an extremely good workout if that's what you're looking for. A little bit more leaning towards back-breaking work on that piece. It's a lot of work, and I'm not sure about in Long Beach, but in a lot of areas, you can't put it in the green waste. You have to put it into actual trash. The combination of not knowing what's on it or in it, and the dirt and rocks that come with it often mean you can't get it into a green waste and it can't go into becoming mulch or feeding other plants. You can solarize it, which is covering it. Often people will do it with long rolls of sheet plastic, and basically you're starving it of sunlight. The other way to do that is through sheet mulching it. And sheet mulching is kind of a lasagna of things that will block out the sunlight for you. And just like lasagna, everybody kind of has their own recipe, but sheet mulching is a combination of cardboard, either broken down boxes like this where you've taken out the staples and taken off the plastic tapes, or you can get what's called B-roll, which is a fluted cardboard rolls that come in different lengths, different widths, and you kind of just roll them out. But you layer that with compost a couple of times, getting the cardboard really wet so it starts to break down, and then you top it in the end with mulch. There's some great videos out there on how to do it. There's some really good resources available, but it's one of the best ways if you have some time and you're taking out the lawn part, the turf, to feed the grass, right? Feed under the grass, feed the soils.
Great. So once you've removed all of your turf with any method that Anne-Marie went over, I'm going to go into tips for planting the plants. So it's really important to check your soil. There are, 3 main kinds of soil, or, clay, sand, and silt, and usually your soil is a combination of those, and there are different ways to check it. And an easy one is a soil ribbon test, which is a physical method of checking your soil. Another way is also to get it sent into your local lab, which would probably be through CSU Long Beach, and they will actually send you back, all of the chemical and biological components of your soil, which is kind of cool. Do you have anything else to add about the soil, Anne-Marie?
Well, knowing what type of soil you have can tell you some things about how it's going to drain and about how you might need to water it. So kind of like feeling it to feel if it feels like a clay pot, knowing if it's sand, knowing if it has good organic material is definitely worth kind of a good way to prep in your planning.
Mm-hmm. And so once you have that figured out, and you're physically planting your plants, it's really important to leave plenty of space for your plants to grow. It might look a little sparse at first, but it does take a few years for plants to reach full maturity. And the last thing you want is to have too overcrowding of plants. And also, away from, if you have existing street trees, like give adequate space between the base of the tree and where you're planting your plant. And when you're digging, be sure to dig the hole as deep as the soil level of the plant in the pot and twice as wide, just to make sure that there's plenty of space for the plant itself. And then once you've put the plant in the ground, be sure to create a berm 6 inches away from the crown of the plant, which helps with soil moisture and just kind of shelters the plant. And also be sure to, when you're mulching the plant, to keep the mulch away from the actual crown or the base of the plant itself, in order to reduce the risk of root rot, which is something that is common. And in this picture, this is a beautiful Eriogonum, or a buckwheat, and this is one of the plants that is offered in one of the planting kits. So once you have your plants in the ground, watering is a really important component. So the general rule of thumb is to water like nature. Native plants especially, really appreciate a deep and infrequent watering, like how our California climate is like. And the general rule of thumb is to water once a week for the first month, and then every other week for the second and third month. And then as time goes on, you know, you should be watering around once a month or so. And that obviously is very dependent on the timing of when you plant your plants. If you're planting in the summer, be sure to plant more than once a week. And also be sure to water in the mornings. The mornings are ideal, or in the evenings, but early morning is the best time to water. And native plants really just love hand watering. There's no need to install irrigation or sprinklers or anything like that. Really just hand watering deeply and infrequently is the way to go with natives. And this picture is an Erigeron, or I think it's Erigeron glaucus, which is a seaside daisy, which is one of the plants offered in your kit.
These are very pretty plants. And some good pollinators too.
I see we have some chat pictures. Yeah, water deeply and infrequently. Yep. Okay. Next slide is about mulching.
Yeah.
Great.
When you're putting things in, mulch is one of the things that you receive with the kits for the area. And you want to, if you sheet mulched, you might be planting directly into the sheet mulch. If you've removed it in other ways, you're going to end up covering everything with sheet mulch mulch. And you want to put in a couple of good inches in mulch. You want to make sure that you've got it pretty well covered, but it's nice to leave a few bare patches for insects. A lot of the native bees need bare patches. California has 1,600 types of native bees. And when we think about bees, we often think of honeybees and bumblebees, but California has so many different kinds. And, you know, bees are our friends. They're generally, as long as we're not harming them, they don't want to harm us for the most part. And leaving them some spaces where they have little spots that have some non-mulched areas to, you know, to do their ground dwelling little nests can be a really nice piece to add in, and it can help bring the pollinators to your space. You also don't want the mulch right up against the stems of the plants, because it's like having wood to wood contact in a house. You have the chance of rot, you have the chance of bringing in pests that you don't want. So you want a good cover of mulch, and the mulch will slowly kind of work its way into the soil and feed the soil. And I believe Long Beach has free mulch service where you can continue as you need to replenish the mulch. And depending on how you put it in, where you're at, how much you've added, probably you just want to touch it up annually with a little bit of mulch. But even that, it's just going to be kind of on a as needed basis. It's not something that you're going to have to do on a regular piece. And it's both to feed the plants and for aesthetic values.
And this picture is an Epilobium canum, or a California fuchsia with the honeybee.
So pretty.
Yeah. Also one of the plants offered. I'm just going to check this chat really quick. Oh, great. Larissa put in the chat the link for free mulch details. So that's a great resource, you know, just to get free mulch and just touch up what you have in your garden. And like Anne Marie said, you know, you add it as needed. 2 to 3 inch layer is adequate. Yeah, it helps retain moisture, and it's just a great, I think aesthetically, I think it looks nice as well. Okay, and now I'm gonna go into weeding. So this is a Salvia leucophylla, which is a purple sage, and a hummingbird, which is also another plant offered. And with weeding, I mean, it's a part of gardening. It's a great meditative aspect of having a garden. It's kind of similar to watering. You just have to do it, but I think the first step is really knowing what grows in your parkway, and researching the weeds that are present really can help figure out which method of weeding works best for the space. And, you know, I'm going to mostly just go over the mechanical ways of weeding, which would include hand pulling, which is just, pulling them and making sure to get as much of the root as possible, cutting them, mowing them if you really have a lot, and really just trying to remove the entire root of the weed is kind of the goal. And biological methods too can work if you know what kind of weeds are present. There are different sorts of insects that you can add, that will remove the weeds. And, I think it's just kind of experimentation and accepting that weeds are a part of it. But usually mulch really helps remove the weeds or kind of keep the weeds down. And once your plants are established, the weeds won't be as much of an issue initially. But I guess a really big first step is removing all the weeds, which I guess goes into removing your turf before you plant your plants. Okay. And now how to ensure success in your parkway.
Yeah. Well, like it says, the best thing you can put on your plants is your shadow. And one of the best things is just kind of knowing your space. Beforehand, going out and understanding when and where you get sun and shade, what happens when it rains in that area. Does it flow over your yard? Does it flow up from the street? And continuing to know that as the new space grows in. You're going to want to kind of keep an eye on it and figure out, does in larger rains, is your mulch impacted? When people are parking on the street, are they stepping? You thought they were going to step to the left and they're always stepping to the right. Things like that you can adjust once you kind of have your eye on it. It's also a good way to get to know, with your hand watering, and particularly while you're establishing it, is something a little bit dry? Is it wilting? Is it getting too much water? Is it getting eaten by a particular insect? Do you have root rot? All of those things are things that could happen, and keeping an eye on it is probably the best thing you can do. You can also get hold of us if you have questions on, you're seeing, all of a sudden it has white dots in a tic-tac-toe pattern that you've never seen, or, whatever it is that you're seeing. You can get hold of us. We'll help you to talk through it. But the best thing you can do for any space you're growing is to spend time in it.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And, not all mulched leaves is bad. It means that you're also providing some nutrient and for some critters, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And ideally, your garden would have a balance of beneficial insects and pollinators, and, you're kind of creating a whole plant community and ecosystem in your space. So, things might come up that you don't expect, but they're all living things. So I think being mindful and careful monitoring of what's going on, I think, is key. And again, this is the buckwheat or the erigeron in this picture. And also, yeah, just like keeping, like we kind of mentioned earlier, just all these different ways of establishing your garden will hopefully lead to success, being mindful of how much you're watering and paying close attention to, weeds that might come up, or if you have any pests or aphids or anything growing on, or not growing, on your plants. Keeping your mulch in at least 2 to 3 inches is ideal. All of these basics to establishing your garden will lead to success. And here are some wonderful photos of established parkways. And if anyone wants to chime in on these, I mean, I have no, I don't know where these are exactly, but they look great.
There's some great looks that you can get from all of this. Mm-hmm. It looks like a really great way to allow space for cars to for people to get in and out of cars, to go through over to the sidewalk without stepping on too many things. And we're taking a look at a couple of the ones that are in there. And then we're going to talk to someone who has put in a parkway and hear about the experience. And then we'll take open questions.
Yeah, so just a little bit about the parkways that you're seeing here. So these parkways were put in a few months ago. So they range from, about 3 to maybe 6 months old. And so as they progress, they're going to get a little more full and really fill in that area. Important at this time to get ready to replenish mulch. So yeah, in a few months, we'll have some additional photos so that all of you can see what these projects will look like fully grown in.
And keeping mulch on it as we get into the dry season will keep the soil from baking. And as we go into summer, and when we're in winter, it keeps it from being hit too hard, sometimes with rain coming through. It kind of protects your soil as well as feeds it. So if you have one that's been in for 6 months, it might be time to just take a look, make sure the mulch is where you want it to be.
Here's another beautiful example of a parkway. And it's already really filling in really nicely. You can see that there's still space between the bunch grasses and the juncus, and that there's still room for the plants to expand. And I think the stepping stones are a really nice touch as well.
Yeah, so this project was actually the first parkway that we were able to convert. Most of the grasses and everything except for the larger succulent agaves that you see there are a part of the kit. The homeowner actually added an interesting touch with those, but this one really came together and it looks really, really nice.
Yeah, it's growing in beautifully.
Yeah, it does look really, really nice. It is nice that there's still that flexibility if you are attached to certain plants or have existing trees, to keep your own unique touch in the space as well. Now,
Right.
now we can have
Yeah, Lori, you can go ahead and jump in and give us a little bit more background about your experience with the program if you'd like. So
Sure.
Lori is a participant of the Parkway program. She completed her Parkway last year, and so on screen you see a picture of it. So Lori, you can take it away if you'd like.
Sure, perfect. Thank you, Larissa. My husband and I love the program. We were really happy to install it, free plants, free materials, you can't beat it. It was a great deal. It was a little bit of work. As you can see, we have a very large parkway, about 40 feet. So we had our gardeners come in and take the turf out just to make the process a little bit quicker. We didn't really test our soil. I know we have clay soil, so didn't really think to test it too much. We realized how clay it was when we started planting. So I think one of the things we would have liked is a little bit more information on how to amend the soil or how to prepare the soil a little bit more before planting. We put some weed block down, and then in total, it took us really one Saturday to do all the installation. After we had the turf removed and put the weed block down, we were able to install all the pavers, do the planting, and do the mulch in one Saturday, although it was quite a bit of work. We did have a couple of the plants die, and it's possible it's just a watering issue, like they explained. Maybe we didn't have the mulch quite right, so maybe we weren't quite clear on that. But overall, we really love it. We think it's turned out pretty well. Had to replace a few things. The blue-eyed grass was not happy at all. So it died on us, but we replaced it, and we're really happy with how it looks.
It looks like it's turning out beautifully. Yeah, clay soils will hold water for a very long time. So you want to, if possible, with clay soils, well, feeding the soil is always a good thing. Putting on organics, compost, covering it with mulch, those kinds of things that will help get nutrients into the soil are always great. And knowing that with your watering system, your watering plan, that you have to be cautious because it's going to take a while for it to drain. Are the main things with having a lot of clay. But it looks like it's turning out to be a beautiful piece. How do you feel about the balance of plants there, Lori?
Looking at now what we did, we had four plant packages because of the size. So we just sort of did one with the plan and then just reversed it. I maybe would have put in, I think it could have used another buckwheat down over on the right side, maybe, looking at it now. For some reason, the right side, at least the right side on the image, that's the western end. There is a street tree in the neighbor's parkway, and in the summer, it gets pretty shady on that west end of it. But overall, I like the selection of plants quite a bit. I think maybe we could have added another buckwheat to it to kind of balance things. And I love the blue-eyed grass. They just didn't have any more at the nursery when we went to replace it. But I would maybe put some more of that in just because I like the way it looks.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
When you aren't working with a plan that comes with pre-chosen plants, which made it a lot easier to know what to put in. But Andrew has pointed out in the chat that choosing clay adapted plants, if you add things, is really important. If you go on Cowscape.org, and you go to the advanced search, you can search for plants that are for slow draining areas too.
Okay.
And Cowscape, you can look for ones that'll do really well, specific to your area and specific to the soils.
Okay. That's
And
a good tip.
yeah, James, you've talked about this before with some of the ones that add plants. If they do have plant issues, if there's in the early time, if there aren't enough plants or their plant die off, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so if within the first couple of weeks to maybe the first month, you find that your plants aren't doing too well, and you're doing everything you can, you feel like you're watering on a good schedule, your plants are protected by mulch, you feel like you did the installation the correct way, feel free to reach out to us. We have a little bit of flexibility with our nurseries to come up with some type of solution to be able to assist any plants that might die off, might not make it. We had a few projects that were installed in the heat of the summer, and so we were able to work out some things with those customers who had plants dying off. This is a learning experience for us. This is a pilot program, something that we're hoping that we can prove feasibility and effectiveness for, so that we can make it more widespread and available in the future to other participants. And so your feedback for all this is very appreciated, whether it be positive feedback, negative feedback. It's all useful for us to be able to take this program to the next level and be able to plan for things that we don't necessarily expect. Unfortunately, with these types of projects, plants are always going to die, and so we're going to do what we can to make sure that these projects are successful. So if any of you out there are having some issues, reach out to us, and we'll see what we can do.
And Lori, have you seen any pollinators out there on your plants yet?
Yeah, we've seen bees around right away after we planted. Within a few weeks, we saw bees buzzing around, a few butterflies, maybe moths. I can't tell you which ones, but yeah, we have seen them there for sure. Yeah.
Nice. So it's starting to work. It's starting to
Yes.
become habitat.
Yes.
And how about having people park in front and walk over. Has that been a problem at all?
Haven't noticed that being a problem. No, there are plenty of pavers included with the package. So the hardest thing was just moving the pavers around. It was a good workout, as you said.
Nobody has to go to the gym on that day.
No.
Well, it's great to see your yard and see what's happening there, that it's growing in so nicely.
Yeah, a lot of the neighbors were very curious about what we were doing. So we said, well, didn't you get the notification in your water bill about the program? Oh, so hopefully more neighbors will start doing it.
It'd be nice to
It's
have whole
lovely.
streets of it. Yeah. It'd be great to have a whole area that's done and bring in some
Yes.
good quality habitat along the way. So, and outside of the couple of plants that may have been overwatered or were having trouble, is there anything that you feel like you could use help with on your yard?
Probably just the soil issue, and then how often are we supposed to fertilize? We put a little bit of fertilizer in the hole as we were planting, just an organic fertilizer. But how often should these be fertilized, if at all?
And they're specific to your area, so they probably don't need any additions. They don't need fertilizer, but if they're looking like they're a little bit challenged, because although they're native plants, they may not be in native soils. These areas have been developed and redeveloped for a long time. You may want to add some compost.
Okay.
And so particularly if you're going to be remulching a little bit, adding some good compost around there that will feed the soil and therefore feed the plants is really good. When you're putting on compost, or even when you're watering, what you're really doing is feeding the soil or watering the soil so it can support the plant life coming into it.
Okay.
So that's always a good one to have.
Okay.
Lori, did you plant first or mulch first?
We planted and then put the mulch down.
Okay, we had somebody asking about that. And I think we've got people starting to ask questions. So I think we're going to do another poll real quick, and then we'll start taking questions from everyone, because it looks like there's a lot of pieces to discuss. So I'm going to launch the poll real quick. And if everybody could give us an idea of what you do or would need support in. And we'll give it a moment and then close up the poll and start taking questions and having more of a discussion with everyone.
And a lot of the beginning, the planting, how to plant your natives and establish your garden are in this wonderful Long Beach CNPS guidebook that's specifically formulated for this kit. I forgot to mention that. The guidebook really lays out exactly how to plant your natives in a step-by-step way. I can get the link to that too and put it in the chat.
Great. We'll give the polling just another moment. So if you haven't done it yet, and then we'll end the poll and start discussing questions. So if you have questions, put in the Q&A or comments you want to make in the chat. All right.
Oh, great. Thanks for Larissa getting the link to the guidebook.
And all right, it looks like
Removing
clear
turf.
winner is removing turf, but also with pruning and some of the others. So this is the first in a series of monthly talks that we're going to do. And with the monthly talks, we'll go into a few different topics, and one of them will be pruning. So we will talk a little bit about, this is kind of broad overview, but we will get into more particulars in the coming months.
Mm-hmm.
So Stella's saying that she's been waiting for mulch and pavers to be delivered. James, do you know how long those normally take? From our end, they look pretty quick.
Mulch and pavers right now, due to the recent storms that we had, our supplier is actually experiencing a bit of a backlog, but those should be available within the next couple of weeks.
Great. And I've got a question on, can they add more native plants of their choice afterwards?
And definitely, we recommend to let what we've given you in the kit establish and grow out a little bit, just so that you see exactly where you might be able to fit those types of plants. We recommend adding more California natives specifically to the project. Essentially, what we're giving you is sort of your beginners, your starter kit for planting out your parkway, for taking on turf replacement, for promoting California natives. And so, yeah, definitely, if you feel like there's space while abiding by some of the accessibility areas and code in your parkway, yeah, green light to do so.
Great. And since we have a moment without questions, let's see, we could have a couple of little tools that we could share with you right quick and show you ways that you could choose appropriate plants or look at expanding things into the rest of your yard. Maya, can I take over the screen for just a second?
Yeah.
Great. I'm going to share my screen and show you for just a moment. If you haven't seen Cowscape before, it is a really terrific little tool to find the appropriate native plant for your area. You can go into the advanced search like I just did, put in Long Beach, and it will give you everything in Long Beach that's appropriate. Or you can go into it and you can put in your specific address. You can put in that you need, grasses that can take full sun and have really.
You should add the pollinator stuff with the perennial herb too. Or something.
Okay, slow draining.
People want the habitat.
Okay, grasses, herbs. We want something that can be a bee garden or a bird garden or a butterfly garden. You probably don't need deer resistant there. You can put in the colors you want, how high or low you want it to go. And then when you search, it will give you plants that are specific to what you're looking for. And you'll have a chance to go in and take a look at what kind of plants they are. You can see a bunch of different varieties where they're local to. It'll tell you how big they'll get, what they'll look like, what kinds of butterflies and moths they host, what kind of work that they're going to take. So that's one of the ways to take a look at your yard. And another one is that we have the garden planner.
Did you mention that you can see the nurseries that?
Oh, that's true. I should have gotten that. If you find a plant that you love, and it's not through this project, but you're supplementing things or you're doing other parts of your yard, you're doing your side yard or something that wasn't included, you can find the nurseries. Just click on the plant on the nurseries that carry it, and you can find the nursery by you in Long Beach or that area that covers it. Or you can look at this garden planning tool where you can put in, as you're starting to dream about what your side yard is or the backyard, something that it hasn't been included so far in the project, what you would want it to be. And it will bring up plant lists and a couple of different design types. So you can put in that you're in Long Beach, that you need something that's an HOA friendly maybe. And you are, let's see, full sun. And that you want pollinators and water conservation, because we are here with Long Beach Water, and this is the best way to do it. So it will give you lists of plants that are appropriate to your site and what you're interested in, and a look at, what would those look like laid out for your yard in a couple of different ways. And Maya did the original drawings for this. So we wanted to look, since people were asking about, could you add other plants afterwards? That's a way to take a look at what might be appropriate if you're adding additional plants, or if you're looking at ones that, parts of your yard that weren't covered with this project or with your lawn removal. So finding native plants that'll work for you. are there any other questions on your parkways or other lawn pieces?
Just to add on, Theodore Payne and Tree of Life, people mentioned in the chat, are wonderful resources and partners that we work with. And they are great native plant nurseries. So that's a great place just to go and explore and get inspired and buy native plants from. So.
Yeah, they are terrific areas and terrific resources if you're looking at any kind of questions. And both of them have ongoing education pieces too, if you want to learn more about the particular plants in your parkway. We have a question asking about adding edible plants to their parkway. And I don't know of edible plants that are in the current plans. Do you know of any, James?
Not in the current plans. But if you find something and it fits, that's, you know, water efficient and you're interested, you can do so. In the parkway, having something that's edible, I reserve that to something a little bit closer to your home. You don't know what's going on in the parkway, that type of traffic. So yeah, that's just my suggestion to that.
And I'm all for edible plants. If you're putting them in your parkway, you are probably feeding the neighborhood. Is your, you know, just an awareness point. And they're terrific. You know, there are some terrific natives depending on what you're looking for. And it looks like Andrew, who's attending, is a Theodore Payne Foundation employee. So you've got a local resource right there in Long Beach. That's a terrific, you know, resource to have and somebody to talk to about what's available and what they have there. We are currently coordinating with Theodore Payne Foundation, USGBC, LA, and LADWP on the first round of landscaper trainings. So we'll have trained landscapers if doing this is challenging or if long-term care is going to be, it becomes challenging. There will be landscapers that will be trained in the area to work on native plants. But a lot of this is all possible because you've got a water department who is being pretty progressive with how they want to change things out. So we're glad to be partnering with them.
Thank you. And I had one message. I'm not sure. I don't see it in the chat. It might have come to me directly. But I thought I'd just share it in the event that anyone that is out there has what they feel is a questionable parkway area with regards to the eligibility requirements that I went over. If you're not sure if your parkway will qualify, just reach out to us. We may need to go out there and do a little bit of an investigation to see if we can help you out. But always reach out to us. We're here to help you the best we can, whether it's allowing you to participate in the program or at least connecting you to additional resources that you can find useful for anything that you've got going on, whether it be maintenance wise or just connecting you to our nurseries, our partners. Yeah, reach out to us. This is what, you know, we're here for. And yeah, thank you.
I'm putting mine and Maya's emails in the chat. Oh, and there's Maya's, yeah. Great. So if you have questions, you can reach out to us as well. We're glad to help find the resources. There's also a chapter down there in Long Beach of CNPS, and they have great information. They have some terrific talks, lectures, you know, resources, plant sales. I believe at the moment our board chair even lives down in that region. So, and there's the best way to reach the Water Conservation Department at Long Beach as well. Oh, winter plant sale at Theodore Payne Foundation this week. So if you find a plant that you have to have, something that you fall in love with and it must come home with you, It's a great place to go. If you haven't found one that you've fallen in love with that has to come home with you, you just haven't gone and looked at their sale quite yet. I know in our online sales, I've gone in occasionally just to check that everything is working and come home with a flat full or 3 of plants. So it can get really easy to do that. So it sounds like they're taking reservations, and also look for next month's talk. We'll be going into a little bit more detail, I believe, on pruning and some of the other topics people were asking about. Longer term maintenance and care, how to replace a plant, how to do upkeep and maintenance. And so if you've already done one, also consider reaching out to your neighbors and seeing if they would like to do these as well. We would love to see whole blocks of these supporting, pollinator habitat throughout Long Beach. Long Beach has, some beautiful, beautiful areas that go with the flyway. But the more we can support the birds and the pollinators coming through, the better. Any last
And yeah, we had a wait list going on for a little while, and we've just are starting to open that up. So if you maybe applied previously, but you got onto our wait list, just keep checking your emails as we're opening up our program again to new participants. And if you have any questions, our website has our phone number and an email. So just reach out if you have anything at all. We're happy to hear from you.
Great. Any last words, James?
I think we're good. This was a good start to our webinar virtual block party series. I know I'm looking forward to how we evolve from here. Appreciate the feedback that we were given on the areas that people need a little more assistance on, and we'll be sure to take that feedback and hopefully produce something that you find useful and can benefit from. So thank you all that have attended tonight. We'll probably let you all go now, let you enjoy your dinner, let you watch Super Bowl highlights if you saw the game yesterday. So yeah, thank you very much. Feel free to reach out to us with any questions. As I had mentioned, this is what we're here for. We're trying to help as many people that we can. CNPS, a great partner. If we don't know the answer, we have our great contacts, Anne Marie and Maya, that are more of the experts in this area. So yeah, we will find a way to help as many of you that we can. And
if your parkway looks extra beautiful that day, or you see something very cool perched on it, we would love to see photos. I'm sure James and Larissa and their team would love to see photos as well. So
definitely.
Yes.
If any of you have some awesome looking parkways and you want to be Parkway famous, feel free to send them our way. We're going to be looking at some new creative ways to market the program as we close out this sort of first round of it. So thank you for reminding me, Anne Marie.
Well, thank you all for coming, and hopefully we'll see you next month. Come and bring a friend and get them doing their parkway as well. All right. Good night, everyone. Good night, y'all.